Welcome back to La Pausa here at Pints and Punditry. It's Wednesday, April 26th, and we've got some coaching rumors to talk about. The carousel just goes round and round, hirings, firings, you name it, and we were hoping for some clarity on the Premier League relegation battle, but we did not get it. Let's dive in. Tottenham Hotspur is having a season that only the Spurs can have, and they have now fired their interim coach, who was already filling in for Antonio Conte. Christian Stellini got sacked after their 6-1 drubbing by Newcastle, which saw them down 5-0 within the first 21-22 minutes. Of course, it was an absolutely disgraceful performance. The players said it, the coach said it, everybody. I mean, it was a disaster. It was an embarrassment to the club, to the people, to football itself. But this is just simple scapegoating, right? Christian Stellini had nothing to do with this. He's an interim manager, filling in, trying to get the guys motivated. Clearly didn't work. And, it was the sort of drubbing where somebody has to get fired, right? Somebody's got to pay the price. And that's what happened. Somebody had to be the scapegoat, and so he was. And it's a real shame, but it's almost comical that you're firing the interim. Now you've got the interim for the interim, and it's Ryan Mason again, who has done this before. So hey, maybe they've got a fighting chance to not embarrass themselves, but it's not looking good. And it's a shame for Stellini, who, from all accounts, is a perfectly good guy and a good coach, but was definitely too connected to Antonio Conte, and just ended up paying the price. And it's not like he was going to be a long-term decision anyway. So it really doesn't make a whole lot of difference. At this point, it's a shame for him as the person, and it's just a comical thing to be firing your interim manager and to not even be able to get through the end of the season. Spurs, it's so sad. And I do wonder, the biggest impact on this may be, does it affect their managerial search just because of the complete instability that it shows in their organization from the top down, starting with the chairman, Daniel Levy. So, does this sort of disastrous performance and complete indecision and reactionary type decision-making affect their ability to hire the manager that they want moving forward? That remains to be seen. What also remains to be seen is where Mauricio Pochettino ends up, because that's the guy that Tottenham fans really want. Of course, they had him, and they got rid of him. And this goes into why you don't fire managers as quickly as you do, because this sort of spiral is just waiting to happen when you do. I'm not arguing that they shouldn't have fired Antonio Conte. Once he popped off and ran his mouth and trashed the whole organization, they had to. And then the Stellini thing is just sort of comical. But this all stemmed from firing Pochettino 6 months, I think it was, after making a Champions League final. I mean, that was the knee-jerk reaction that now has created the domino effect. And now it's looking like Pochettino might end up at Chelsea, who of course has the same issue with the domino effect of firing coaches far too early, right? And they have run through managers themselves. And I have questioned whether Pochettino is really going to have the interest in Chelsea that Chelsea has in him. I get why they want him. He's a fantastic manager. But is Chelsea the appealing job that they think they are? Well, if they're as close to landing Pochettino as has been reported, then maybe they are. I wonder about the stability of the organization, and is that a place a coach like Pochettino, who has been linked to every big job in Europe over the past couple of years when he's available, it would really be attracted to? I suppose the resources and the ability to be at a big name club does offer some opportunities that you would not find at other clubs. And listen, it's a personal decision, obviously, for Pochettino, whether or not that outweighs the completely rudderless ship and instability that comes with the organization. If Pochettino takes this job, we can't be shocked if he's unemployed again in a year, or maybe less given Chelsea's track record. I assume he's also smart enough to think of that and work something into his contract to save him from that, or pay him a ton of money if that is the case. And of course, Chelsea doesn't care about money, so they'll probably be willing to do that to get their man. But what this does is it just continues the slippery slope and domino effect of coach after coach after coach. So, Pochettino would be a great option if they're willing to actually stick with him and let him coach, which Tottenham was not willing to do, and PSG was not willing to do. And maybe he's just not afraid of clubs that are quick to fire coaches. So more power to him. But This just feels like it's going to be another 1.5 years and done, and we're going to be back doing this sooner rather than later. But hey, if they get their man, good for Pochettino and good for Chelsea. And last but not least today, we were hoping to get some clarity on the clogged, crowded Premier League relegation battle that has been going on for months, because we had a true relegation matchup, Leeds United taking on Leicester City. And so all it was going to take for some clarity and for some separation was for one of these clubs to win, and they just couldn't do it. And you sweet relegation teams, this is why you're down at the bottom of the table. Leeds took an early lead. About 20 minutes in, Sinisterra got a goal. Leicester City had already had one taken back by VAR, and so Leeds played most of the game with a 1-0 lead, and then they gave it up late in the second half, and this is just par for the course. Neither team is able to separate themselves from the relegation zone. Everton sitting in 18th place. If one of these teams had won, they would have been 4 points clear of relegation, which would have put them 2 games away. Would have taken 2 wins or a win and a draw for somebody to jump up and get them, and that's the buffer that one of these clubs is just looking for, and none of them just seem to be able to help themselves. So these games are fascinating to watch. It was great football, great energy, a lot of physicality, and there were a bunch of cards in the game, and guys playing for their livelihoods because frankly they are, or at least the clubs themselves are. But alas, at the end of the day, goals are at a premium and they just can't get it done, which is, of course, why they are down where they are. So what are we watching today? Well, normally we give you a bunch of options, a lot of great games to watch, but no, tomorrow the focus is in one place. Manchester City, Arsenal play for essentially the Premier League title. These are the top 2 teams at the top of the table. They take each other on, and if Arsenal loses this game, it's all but over. If Manchester City loses, it opens the door, but it's not over. And if it's a draw, Manchester City's still in the driver's seat. But this really will define the Premier League season. You have far and away the 2 best teams, and this is cannot miss football. If you've been watching the Premier League or anything all season, this is what it comes down to. You gotta watch it. Thanks as always for joining us on La Pausa here at Pints and Punditry. Have a great day, everybody. This is Total FIFA Career Mode.